Ladies and gentlemen, I think Alec Baldwin went to the same public relations executives as Jussie Smollett and other morally superior liberal Democrats. We have here Alec Baldwin's wife, Hillaria, says husband has been suffering from PTSD for a very, very, very long time. Now, if this was actually true, I wouldn't even talk about this because that's a serious issue. Of course it's not. Of course, it has not. Okay, he was the MC for a human rights event tonight. This is similar to when Andrew Cuomo received an Emmy for his atrocious handling of you-know-what, which, by the way, was returned back to the wonderful, morally superior liberal Hollywood Democrats who gave him the Emmy because he was accused, of course, of doing really nasty things to a whole bunch of people, like a good, morally superior liberal Democrat. So Alec Baldwin steps out for the first time, for the first public event since the actor emceed the 2021 Ripple of Hope Award Gala in New York City. You have to understand, these wonderful, wonderful, very wealthy, extremely wealthy, morally superior liberal Democrats think that Alec Baldwin is the perfect choice. Apparently, OJ or OJ was busy, or, Jeffrey Dahmer was busy, so they got the next best choice in Alec Baldwin. But getting back to the PTSD diagnosis from his wife, first of all, he ended someone's life, okay? You can probably bet that the people who are mourning the loss of the cinematographer aren't emceeing any awards gala. They're not on their Instagram showing pictures of Halloween photos and Christmas photos and all of that. They're mourning the loss of a human being that Alec Baldwin aimed and fired at. It is a fact, a 100% fact, without a shadow of a doubt, that Alec Baldwin aimed his firearm at the cinematographer. He pulled back the hammer, and it is a 100% certainty. A 100% certainty he pulled the trigger of the firearm, or it was a modified firearm and somehow he asked one of the armorers, the secret armorer, or the armorer that supplied the ammunition and the revolvers, the Colt 45s for the Western. He asked them to modify the firearm to allow it to fire by just pulling back the hammer, which is very bizarre. Maybe some of the scenes called for actors to fan the hammer, that type of thing, and show, again, he could have paid a tiny bit more money for graphics. We have the technology, Mr. Anti-Second Amendment Alec Baldwin, to duplicate what a real firearm looks like when it's fired. But he didn't want to spend that money. In fact, there were cost-cutting measures and an emphasis on time and saving money, which is what he admitted during the George Stephanopoulos public relations stunt. So when he was blaming the cinematographer, when he was saying the cinematographer told him to pull back the hammer, told him to aim in his direction, he was admitting that he did those things. He aimed a firearm in her direction. He ended her life accidentally, but he's blaming her for ending her own life. He's blaming her for him ending her life because he actually pulled the trigger of the firearm, but is too cowardly to say, okay, yeah, I did that. And the thing is, like, had he simply kept quiet and not said a word, this wouldn't have been as sinister and nefarious as it's turning out to be. Every single day, the man paints a more cryptic picture of what really happened. He actually, in his maniacal, impulsive, endless effort to try to recreate or revise history, he's injecting an element of intent there that nobody thought, that I didn't think he intentionally did anything. I'm still saying it's an accident. But you have to ask, well, okay, did he try to send a message? Was he trying to, did he why did he fire the weapon when the armor was not in the church? Again, why did he utilize the firearm when the armor was not in the church? Why did he rely on the assistant director, Dave Halls? Why? Why did he initially try to throw Dave Halls under the bus? And then you have a bizarre turn of events where the assistant director says, oh yeah, I never saw his finger outside of the guard of the firearm. So that's bizarre. That's really bizarre. And unless the assistant director has bionic vision, he wasn't even looking because he allegedly yelled out cold gun. So he wouldn't have been looking. But see, let's just get back to the whole thing. Look, you have to be a complete imbecile to actually believe Alec Baldwin. But part of his shtick, part of his very nasty, disgusting type of public relations, like, attempt at revising history or rewriting history is doubt, conjecture, hyperbole, lies, deceit. If he can introduce all of these, if he can introduce a giant smokescreen and lie as much as possible to create as much doubt, even when he gets charged criminally, I believe he'll get involuntary manslaughter charges. He pulled the trigger of a firearm. He 100% did that. Okay? There's no doubt he did that because the gun cannot fire without him doing that, or it was a modified firearm, in which case he would have known it was there was a modified firearm on the set. I mean, you can't claim ignorance on everything. You can't say, like, these complete imbeciles and buffoons say, oh, well, he was given it. What do you want him to do? Well, anti-Second Amendment, morally superior liberal who's completely ignorant about the topic you claim to know a lot about. All he had to do was either A, check the firearm, which is what he should have done anyway, and B, if he modified the firearm, or if producers modified the firearm, he would have known. Now, if he doesn't know anything, if he doesn't know why the armor wasn't in the church, if he doesn't know why the firearm would have been modified, if he doesn't know that you can't aim a firearm that's pulled back, where the hammer's pulled back, because that's just as basically as unsafe as pulling the trigger of the firearm, which is what happened. Apparently, according to him, his finger slipped. And by the way, what did he expect when he pulled the hammer back of a single action Colt 45, which is a prerequisite, a precursor to actually firing the weapon? What did he expect? Like, he's speaking to very ignorant people, which happen to be 20 to 30, maybe 40% of the population who've never fired a revolver, who don't know anything about firearms, but definitely want to ban the Second Amendment and, blame the inanimate object for the evil that people commit. Okay, people, unfortunately, commit atrocities, and they're negligent like Alec Baldwin. And you have to actually hold people accountable. Now, Democrats, they don't hold. What they want to do is manipulate every tragedy. So if there's a mass atrocity, oh my God, look at this congressman holding an AR. Well, what on earth does that have to do with the mass atrocity? What on earth does that have to do with the mass atrocity? You want to hopefully empower people to protect themselves, enable them to protect themselves with concealed carry. So I'm part of the USCCA. You should be too. It's a fantastic organization. But you should hopefully empower people to where, if God forbid, a person in a public setting wants to commit a heinous act, you can protect yourself and your family, or stop that person, or at least protect yourself and your family. But no, it's, oh my God. So what they do, the morally superior liberals, what they do is they say, look at that mass atrocity. That mass atrocity wouldn't have happened if more laws would have governed the evil person's behavior, the person who would have stopped at nothing to acquire any inanimate object, which is what happens all the time to commit such evil. But see, again, this is too much. It's basic logic for the morally superior liberal Hollywood Democrat is like trying to explain physics or teach quantum physics to your house cat. It doesn't work. They don't see, like, I remember one time I told somebody who was a morally superior liberal Democrat, I'm like, oh, this person lost their life. Someone, it was in the news, someone close to them had ended their life with a firearm, and it was horrible. And then the person said, you see, the firearms. Yeah, we have to enact more laws. The person was a complete imbecile. He was breaking the law. This person in the news was breaking the law anyway, committing the most heinous crime. You wouldn't have stopped the person because they would have acquired the firearm through illegal means. Most robberies or atrocities that are conducted with the use of firearms are done with illegally obtained firearms. But again, you explain this to the morally superior liberal Democrat, it's like goes in one ear out the other. They don't get it. They don't care. They want government when they want government, and God forbid the Supreme Court rules something that they don't like, where government infringes upon their rights. Oh my God, you will hear it from them. So it's not about big government, small government. It's about power. They want power. They oppose law enforcement, and they oppose firearms. Apparently, they don't oppose rampant crime, which is rising at exponential rates in Democratic-run cities, where people who have perhaps criminal records obtain firearms, which is what always happens. Most crimes with firearms are done by people who have criminal records and who obtain the firearms illegally. Okay? That is according to the Washington Post. That's a fact. So why am I getting into this? Alec Baldwin is the poster child for a combination of ignorance and advocacy, which is today's Democratic Party. They're ignorant, but they're very passionate. Oh my God, they're so passionate. And when they get caught with their pants down, literally, or with their hand in the cookie jar, or when they end someone's life, Alec Baldwin wants police on the set now. Or he blames the victim. And I have firearms. You might have firearms. You probably do if you're watching this channel. We know to check the firearm immediately if it's given to us. Immediately. But ourselves. He didn't do that, number one. The armor was not in the church. So he can claim PTSD all he wants. Or she can claim Hillaria. But he's the one who ended someone's life. It's not about them now. Even if he does. Hopefully he doesn't. I don't want Alec Baldwin to have PTSD, but let's just say if he does, he shouldn't even be talking about it, because he's the one on the set who didn't follow basic safety protocol, and he's the one on the set of Rust, the top producer or executive producer, the star, quote unquote, of the Western. He's the one who's at fault for ending someone's life accidentally. Now you get this absurd letter written like a hostage letter today. Oh, yeah, well, it was a great set. No, it wasn't, you imbeciles. The people who signed their names on that letter are complete and utter imbeciles. Because the whole planet knows it was an unsafe set. Who cares? Like, you've basically tarnished your own reputation by, if you're on that letter, you basically tarnished your reputation forever. Because someone lost her life, number one. There was a protest of camera crew, number two. Alec Baldwin will never in your life help you, ever, for anything, number three. That if Alec Baldwin had the opportunity to throw you under the bus, to blame you, to put you in prison, oh my God, he would do so in 2 seconds. But still you have these people, well, I thought it was a wonderful shit. Well, then why is he being sued by Gloria Allred and by the chief of lighting And why is one person was one person no longer here because of his actions? Okay, why was there a protest of camera crew walking out because of unsafe working conditions? But again, you're talking about Hollywood. They live in their own world. They want to ban firearms but make a lot of money from them. They're all over the place all the time, 24/7, but the one thing that they're always good at is trying to paint themselves as morally superior at the expense of being the epicenter of immorality in the universe. Hollywood is the epicenter of immorality. And you have producers and directors who are now serving prison time for just the most heinous acts. You have Alec Baldwin who's trying to get out of prison time by blaming the person he fired at. And, it's just, it's a terrible situation when he's managed to, with Hillaria, make it all about him and them. He ends someone's life, and now it's all about him. So, the knock on Trump was that he said that he could end someone's life on Fifth Avenue, and people would still vote for him. That's actually not true. What is true is that a liberal Democrat in Hollywood, morally superior, wonderful, oh my God, so intelligent liberal Democrat, actually did end someone's life, and you still have complete and utter imbeciles and buffoons, the most gullible people on the planet, believing everything he's saying simply because they don't like Trump. And everything they do is on like this morally relative curve where if it's against Trump, it's all good. So, anyway, give me your thoughts below. The man doesn't have PTSD, but if he does, he shouldn't even have told anybody. Okay? And if he has PTSD, why is he blaming the victim? Why is he doing everything possible to paint himself as the victim? I mean, if he truly has guilt, or if he truly is harmed or hurt by all of this, why is he doing his best to relive everything, even after he said that the sheriffs ordered him not to talk? Yet one of the many lies he's told. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now to this channel. Hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. China invading Taiwan or Russia invading Ukraine. I mean, so many geopolitical catastrophes could take place under Biden, mashed potato brains' watch. That could be the catalyst. Or you have more Evergrandes in China and in the U.S., hedge funds like Archegos. A lot of these things could take place to serve as a catalyst for the catastrophic stock market crash we will experience. We're going to experience a devastating stock market crash. I write about that in the Federalist. That article is below in the pinned comment. And if you want to support my work, my Patreon is below in the pinned comment. Thank you so very much.